That's right, I am here. Don't worry. I am, I wouldn't say late. I'm not going to say late. I am on time. So I wanted to make sure I had this all prepared. I have actually been planning to do a video like this, and then I decided no, I wouldn't. I would wait. And I guess primarily I decided to wait doing this topic is because there'd been talk of some things developing from here. Now, it's not necessarily what you might expect, but I'll let you know what's going on exactly, and I'll explain the process, and I'll give you a few links to what's been going on with regard to a kind of like a classic, and that is the Dungeons and Dragons animated cartoon series, right? Okay, so I'm going to just flick over to my face and just make sure that YouTube can actually deal with my face, because sometimes it doesn't. Now, for those of you who are fans of this particular TV series, apparently there is an entire country that are so interested in this particular TV series that there's a whole series of commercials coming out. Now, I'll explain to you what's going on for those of you who are wondering. Now, I will put the start time for this video down in the description for those of you who want to get past all of my rambling before I actually start, which I will do in a second. I just want to make sure that YouTube can deal with my face, and if it can, great news. Now, don't get too upset, because I do have some good news and just unusual news, you might say. Now, normally what I do is I present everything first, and then I open it up for questions and answers at the end. How's it doing? Is it Andre? How's it going, Andre? And is that Akira? The Cragmore hideout question I will answer at the end of the live stream, okay? So stick around. It shouldn't take me too long to get through this. All right, so sit back, grab a drink, some food, and let's talk about the topic, shall we? And I'll get rid of these earplugs because I can hear myself when that's really annoying. I don't really like that, so it's gone. It's gone. Yes, all right, so sit back, relax, and let's have a discussion about this topic. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And core blimey, the topic is a bit of a strange one. Do people remember this particular TV series? I know I remember it because I have the TV series in my collection. So apparently the TV series is so popular that we now have an answer to the all-consuming question, which is, did the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon characters get home? Well, and apparently they did get home, and there is more information on what's been going on with them, and I don't know how this has been pulled off, but apparently it has been pulled off. Ignore Dungeon Master. When he says he has something for you, you don't know whether he's pointing down or behind you, and that's really confusing. I know, I totally understand that. Okay, so apparently the classic Dungeons and Dragons animated cartoon series, those characters have been made into live action characters, and they've done it for a Renault car commercial, actually not just one car commercial as it happens, in Brazil. Now, why have they decided to do that in Brazil? Apparently in Brazil it's very popular, like really, really popular. These characters have been fleeing or running from Tiamat and Venja while trying to get home for about 3 TV seasons, three seasons of TV episodes, and we never actually found out what was going to happen to them. I think the intention was the series would continue on, but of course it got cancelled, and that was that. But thanks to Brazil and their fascination and the popularity of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon series in their country back then, and it still permeates today, a car company has taken it upon themselves to make a series of car commercials featuring these characters. Now, I know that sounds like, well, hang on, that sounds really weird. That's not really what I thought we were talking about. Well, I know, I understand that. Now, you will find a link to the car commercial down in the description of this video, or the doobly-doo if you want to go and check it out a little bit later on. But let me explain what's going on here. These characters are actually really well cast. They've been very careful about who they selected. These people look exactly like the characters that as we envisaged them in the cartoon. But not only that, there's been about one new Dungeons and Dragons car commercial based on these characters made each week for the last 3 months since they put out the main car commercial. Very, very strange. I do realize that. Now, for those of you who are wondering what is going on, what they've done is they have deliberately made this look like a full-blown movie trailer. It looks like a full-blown movie trailer. They literally have gone to that much effort, a lot of expense to actually make it happen. Now, the very first one is about 1.5 minutes, the time span that you would expect for any kind of movie trailer to be nowadays, with the exception of not including a lot of black screen. So they haven't included a lot of black screen. Yes, it's full of special effects. Yes, it has all of the characters that we remember. Yes, it has Tiamat, it has Venger, it has Dungeon Master in there, it has Uni, the unicorn, it has all of the characters doing all the things we remember them doing. And that was done deliberately, and of course a lot of people have assumed that there is a movie coming out based on these characters from the old cartoon TV series. Now, who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe this will get somebody's interest and they will decide actually they've got something here, we can do something with it. It wouldn't be the first time, but I want to sort of explain to you essentially how they got home and what's been going on. So first off, these car commercials obviously feature Dungeon Master. Now, Dungeon Master is the riddle-talking guide that is often featured in the cartoon. He's also featured in the live-action commercials, and his role is obviously really important, but essentially the story goes like this. So if you do not want to hear, these are spoilers for the trailer. For those of you who want to go and just watch the car commercial trailer, then go and watch that and be done. But now I'm about to tell you exactly what happens. So after being chased, that's all of the characters from the Dungeons & Dragons party from the original cartoon, all live action, they are being chased by Tiamat. We have Hank opening up and firing an energy arrow at Tiamat, followed by Bobby the Barbarian smashing the cave entrance, trapping Tiamat in place. They are on the run. Tiamat's trying to get out of there. It's only a matter of time before that happens. Venger shows up on his flying horse and starts hurling bolts of energy. And of course, Dungeon Master shows up in a Renault car, drives up to them and says it's time to go home. And they all get in. And of course, this is the one time that Presto actually manages to use his magic from his hat and opens a portal with the help of the GPS on the car, which allows them to be taken home. They drive through the portal, they escape Tiamat, and it isn't actually spelled out in the ad completely, but we see what looks like Venger makes it through the portal, disguises himself as a police officer on a horse, and Uni also makes it through the portal as well. So, and then it stops, but it doesn't stop because the story continues. And as I said, for the last 3 months, they've been pumping out one of these short Renault car commercials based on the characters about every week. I would say roughly about every week. And they don't seem to be slowing up in terms of how they are doing this. The last one was only a week ago as far as I can tell. So the characters, obviously, Dungeon Master shows up a lot. Diana, for those of you who were really a fan of Diana the acrobat gets a lot of time in the original, including what looks like a very bright glowing staff. Doesn't really get to do very much other than a lot of running, but it's interesting how the future car commercials actually feature her quite a bit as it happens. For those of you who were more of a fan of Hank the Ranger, well, Hank the Ranger gets some prime time using his energy or lightning arrows, fighting off Tiamat and Venger, and of course doing what he always does, as he is pretty much the leader, doing a lot of shouting at the group, telling them to run. But he also featured again in the follow-up commercials. For those of you who were a fan of Bobby and Bobby's unicorn uni, yes, these characters show up. Now, Bobby's key part is to block the cave, as I said, trapping Tarmat with his club, his magical club that radiates energy and so forth. He also pops up in a lot of these future commercials. Presto, Presto usually wasn't successful in using his hat, but apparently he's gotten better at it. In fact, a lot of the characters seem to be portrayed slightly differently in that they must have been doing this for some time and they've actually got better at what they were used to be doing. And so Presto was able to open up a portal, obviously with the help of this Renault car's GPS system, but he is also featured quite a lot in future videos. I thought it was interesting that probably one of the most cranky of the characters, so Eric the Cavalier, he uses his magic shield to protect everybody in the original commercial, but he has followed up again in numerous video commercials that the company makes. And I found that really, really interesting, that a character who is really a kind of like a spanner in the works and usually in conflict with the rest of the group gets quite a lot of time in follow-up commercials. So quite interesting. So if you're wondering, oh, will I ever get to see sort of some developments in these characters? You might well. Now, for those of you who remember Sheila, now Sheila is the thief with the invisible cloak, can go invisible. Usually didn't get very much playtime in the cartoon, although not in terms of using her cloak, that is. Most of the time she was usually like telling off Eric or guiding everybody or talking to Bobby and trying to calm down Bobby and Uni for whatever reason, but really didn't have an awful lot to do. It's funny that her part to play is literally doesn't help the situation that much at all, other than to get into the car, put the cloak on and turn invisible. And then of course somebody apparently sits in the same place she's sitting in, so they must be sitting on her lap. I mean, maybe that's Bobby, who knows, I don't know. So I just thought I would let you know that for those of you who were aware or were unaware that this car commercial exists based off a rather classic Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I mean, to be fair, it was considered pretty hokey back then, maybe still is considered pretty hokey. From what I can see so far, I haven't seen follow-up ads that include Tiamat. So the original certainly includes the Queen of Dragons, and certainly some pretty good shots. I haven't seen any follow-ups, like I said. Venger. Now, Venger played a big part in the original commercial. I haven't seen follow-ups with Venger, but I can see this happening at some point because it wouldn't be very difficult for them to put a police officer with red eyes riding on a horse chasing a Renault car down the street at some point, or through some sort of desert environment if they really wanted to. So really quite amusing, I have to say. I honestly, when I first saw this, I thought that they were actually talking about a full-blown movie or a new TV series of some kind. So just to make it really clear, it isn't a full-blown movie. Maybe it will become that. Somehow Renault has been able to get the rights to be able to do this. There's no way they would have been able to do this otherwise. If it works out really well and makes them a lot of money, I can see eventually this going further. So when everybody thinks, well, a lot of the things that I really loved in my childhood have gone and now they didn't sort of resolve themselves, don't be surprised if things develop and go in a direction you were not expecting. Because this is the time where Dungeons and Dragons is doing everything that nobody ever thought was possible. And I just want to reiterate that. So I'm hoping that you found this video helpful and interesting and entertaining in some way and useful. And I recommend going and checking out the original commercial, which is down in the doobly-doo or description, linked down there if you really want to check it out. Now, I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters, which you're welcome to go and check out if you want to. I'm sure there'll be something that will be useful to you. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing videos and content like this, and I do lots of different types of content, then you can support me on Patreon. I also have affiliate links down in the description to Amazon and the book depository. I also have a merchandise shelf underneath. And make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And I do that a lot. Lots and lots and lots. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Now, I'm not gone, but hang about, because let's have a chat. And look, I would never have guessed that something like this would ever happen. But let's get real. We're in an age and in a time where even the most ludicrous things that you think could never possibly happen can happen. Who would have thought that Critical Role would get a cartoon series? Now, if the Critical Role cartoon series comes off and works, do not be surprised if we wind up seeing these characters return to the TV screen. Now, whether they return as a cartoon, or whether they return as live action characters is, well, hard to say. Who knows? It's certainly very, very possible, I think. I think it's in fact very likely, given everything that has been taking place so far. Hang on, just let me get my glasses on. I need a drink of water, and then let's have a look through the chat. And yes. Oh, and I should have mentioned that the original TV series, which a lot of people wouldn't know, and I only found out just recently, apparently in the cartoon, Venger is defeated. They decide to, well, he keeps messing things up, they decide they're going to just kill him. In this live action, they bring Venger into the real world, so he would be an ongoing threat. And I would imagine eventually we will see Venger. I imagine there's not a lot of special effects in these follow-up car commercials, so you will find that they'll be limited in what they can do, and of course the cost involved and so forth. But remember, car commercials, they spend a lot of money on these things to get people to watch them, but they certainly have every intention. I can see what they're doing. They're calling back to, we have a population who watch this cartoon Dungeons and Dragons every week. Let's try to make a new ad every week for them to watch. So that's really what I think they're trying to do. And they're telling a story at the same time, which I thought was amusing, while trying to sell their car. Okay, right, so now there's a question here, unrelated to the topic, but let's do that. Yes, I have to say Diana was certainly one of my favourites. I never could understand the acrobat concept myself, but anyway. Okay, so your question, about to run Cragmore Hideout with my roommates when they get home. Super excited. Just thought I'd hop on the show and support. Thanks again for the help preparing. You are welcome. I really hope that your game goes well. And if you have any questions with regard to the Lost Mine of Phandelver, feel free to ask me, particularly in the live chats. I will answer questions in comments, but if the question has already sort of been answered by a previous video, then I'll probably direct you to that video. And if it's a question that you I haven't answered before, then I will try to answer it in the comments, or I'll just make another video, which seems to be pretty popular right now. How's it going, Matt? Hi, John. John, be good. I do, and I love them. Yes, I have to say that I'm rewatching them just recently, and it's interesting. When you look at the old characters, those old characters are a reflection of the original Dungeons and Dragons, because they're always running away. They don't engage in fight. They're always trying to find a way of defeating the situation that does not involve getting into a battle. Really, it's only Hank and Bobby who have any sort of real significant firepower, and everybody else is really sort of there to try to figure out how they can avoid the issue. And Eric there when things go really bad and they need some protection, which is kind of amusing considering he's a bit of a coward. But, you know, he still does his job when he needs to. Matt, they did, yes, the happy ending. Yes, we do get the happy ending, but it's not a complete ending. They get home, but it's not ended. You can see what the car commercial is trying to do. They're trying to open it up to, look, there's more story to be told. I don't honestly know what they can get away with based on what sort of license they were able to acquire. It'll be interesting to see. But I would not be surprised if this and the production of Critical Role's animated Dungeons and Dragons campaign winds up resulting in a new Dungeons and Dragons live TV series or a animated TV series of some kind. We know there's a movie coming, and a lot of us are either cringing or crossing our fingers hoping they get it right this time, since they've botched it up so many times before in the past. Yes, Fred, you are late, but you have done very well in being on time most times, so I do appreciate it for people who do try to manage to get here for the live streams. It's always nice. I much prefer to talk to people in the live chat rather than try to wade my way through the comments section. Yes, of course they got home. Exactly, of course they got home. Okay, what else have we got here? At Fred, now you have to make their magic weapons for us. Well, Matt, that's actually a very good suggestion. I was kind of wondering, do people want me to make up their magic weapons? Is that something we should do? Should we actually build the magic weapons that each of these characters possessed? I feel like the only ones that are really that difficult is Hank, Bobby, Sheila's invisible cloak, not going to be very difficult. Presto's hat might be a bit more difficult because it's got an element of randomness to it. And then, of course, we've got, Eric's shield. I don't think that's going to be very difficult either, although it does seem to project some sort of shell or protection outside of the shield area as well. So there's obviously some sort of feature that allows him to do that and protect a larger group than just himself. It's almost as if it is a Lehman's tiny hut that's being formed by the shield, but for a very short period of time, that seems to be able to stop pretty much anything from getting through, which essentially that's probably what it is. They would be disappointing. Disappointing? Who's been disappointing? Somebody would be disappointed? They would be disappointed? Tony the Tiger says there will be great. There will be great. I don't know what that means, Matt, but okay. There will be great. It's great. It's great. Tommy says it's great. Okay, I got it. Okay. The bow energy of accuracy. -5 to hit. It's the only explanation for how often he missed. I see what you're getting there, Fred. Yeah. I think the problem is that maybe Hank, even though he had this bow and he was firing it off rapidly, wasn't actually taking his time and being a bit more accurate. And he did hit targets from time to time, but it didn't seem to ever do enough damage. But I get what you're saying there, Fred. Makes a lot of sense. Hi, John Cartwright. Hello. Shield of Cowardice. The Shield of Cowardice. Is that what you want to call it? The Shield of Cowardice. Could be, maybe it is a cursed item. A cursed weapon. Maybe the bow was a cursed weapon. Matt. Well, I guess cursed armor. Cloak of invisibility and snagging. Yeah, she did seem to get caught on a lot of things over time, didn't she? She did get caught on so many different things. Hat of the failed spell. Oh dear, John. Yeah, Fred is not gone. That's right, Fred is not gone. Fred is still here. Apparently I'm still here, working my way forward. The vaulting pole of tripping. The vaulting pole of tripping? Club of the tantrum. You're a good sport about it. Obviously. But yes, true. There are a lot of things. I think it's more a reflection of their characters are not experienced. They haven't had any formal training. They haven't actually had a chance to use all this stuff that much. So they're suddenly just given all this stuff. It's not like they are imbued magically with skill. Matt, she is a barbarian monk. The thief acrobat was a big deal in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I believe I did hear that. She looks like a barbarian monk. I would give you that. But I believe that Diana is described as an acrobat. So I feel like if she is an acrobat, that's probably more monk acrobat. Would that make sense? I can't honestly remember. I do remember having to do some research on some appalling Dungeons and Dragons classes, and the acrobat did come up as rather odd. But yes, she certainly does, and she winds up with the least amount of clothing, apparently as well, which is kind of weird. I didn't really expect that to occur certainly in a cartoon. Hi Joe, how's it going? This is good for our game. Great seeing D&D in the mainstream. Yes, because when you think about it, it's Brazil. Okay, so none of the commercials and nothing that's said is in English. So you might struggle to understand what they're saying. I totally get that. But we're now talking about the Dungeons and Dragons franchise being picked up to be used in a car commercial. Now, even if it's in Brazil, it's a car commercial. Car commercials, they spend a lot of money on car commercials to sell cars because cars are expensive. And so it can only cause good things. It can only result in good things. And the more people who watch these ads, and Renault Brazil actually has a YouTube channel, and you can go and watch their follow-up ads that they have put up there. For those of you who are wondering, it's not just the original trailer ad or commercial they made that's in the doobly-doo or description of this video, but all the follow-up ads, you can actually watch them. They're on YouTube. You just have to go Renault Brazil, and there they are. They're not nicely, placed out with thumbnails and all the rest, because of course they don't need to do that. They need to worry about that sort of thing. Their traffic is being driven through the Brazilian market, not through YouTube. So you can go and actually watch them if you wanted to, and see what those characters are doing. And of course, if you speak Portuguese, then you'll understand what they're saying. John Cartwright, what do you got here? Do you think that Venger is a half demon? Yeah, you always wondered about Venger and the half horn. It could well be. I feel like Venger is probably more demon, or maybe more devil than demon. I feel like he's more devil than demon, although he's sort of got a horn coming out. I feel like he's definitely more devil in nature, fiendish in nature. So, and he's clearly been engaged in a battle that resulted in an injury, so he's lost one of his horns. How did Venger lose one of his horns? That's a really good question, right? And will that be answered? That question be answered in car commercials? I don't know. But there are follow-up videos on that particular original one that you can watch. So yes, I feel like he's probably more devil. Fred, we made the weapon when the cartoon series was actually running. I might still have the sheets. Look, Fred, you know my response to you with regard to the stuff that you have done. You did the how to hatch a dragon egg, and I took that content and I made it into a video and I put it up on YouTube. And if you want to share that, I will do that. And if you want to share the original documents that you created for those magic items, then I think you should. But Fred, this time you need to be sensible, Fred, and you need to turn it into a tidy document and stick it up on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and I don't know, put a pay what you want for it. And I will make videos promoting that, because I think actually, it will save me a lot of time. I don't have to worry about making those magic items up. And if it's already done by you, I trust you. I know you've got a fairly good idea of what you're doing. And if I disagree, I'll let you know. But I think a lot of people would be very interested in those particular magic items. So if you've got the documentation, you know what my email is. Just email it to me. I'll have a look at it. If it looks good, I'll let you know. And if you'll let me do so, I will make a video about the topic. So don't send it to me by email if you don't want me to make a video about it, because I will. And then we'll see what people say. And if they like what you've done, then they'll go to the Dungeon Masters Guild and download your document. Why not? Let's do that. Absolutely. Let's work with that. I think that's a good plan. and you'll let me know, Fred, if you think that's a good idea or not. Okay, Matt. I hope Matt, I hope this movie succeeded. Then there will be hope for a good Dragonlance movie. So now remember, what I've just talked about is not a movie. It is a car commercial trailer that looks like a feature movie. Okay? If the new Dungeons and Dragons movie that's coming out succeeds, and I don't know enough about it, I think nobody does, we're still waiting to see what happens with it. If it is successful, we will definitely see more of them. I think the issue is going to be if they try to make exactly the same sort of thing. I think what they need to look at Dungeons and Dragons as a collection of different stories that can be told in the Dungeons and Dragons world. And Dragonlance would be a fantastic storyline. I mean, who of us have not watched or listened to Dragonlance? I mean, Dragonlance, there were some movies put out a whole bunch of a long time ago with minimal, they weren't very successful, but the books, a lot of us have read the books, and that came directly from a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that people actually ran. So I think it's going to be a really cool idea. You talking about the Brazilian ads? Yes, I am. Age gaming. I am talking about the Brazilian ads, absolutely. By the way, you are an amazing YouTuber, and you have helped me so much with my campaign, especially the Curse of Strahd. Oh, okay, Age Gaming. Tell me, what is... because I will continue to do the Curse of Strahd, and I'm glad I've been able to be helpful, Age Gaming. Keep sharing my videos, because if you do that and more people watch them, there's a good chance, given enough time, and hopefully I don't run out of savings, that I might be able to do this full time. I think this is where we're heading. I just don't know if I can get it done yet. We are certainly not there yet. So yeah, even though I've messed up so many times. Look, messing up is all fine. I wouldn't worry about messing up, just because, everybody messes up. And messing up is just you putting your twist on the story as the dungeon master. I will see if I can find the old item sheets. If you can, Fred, send them to me, and I'll put them out as a video, and we'll have a bit of a discussion around them. And if people like it enough, then you can link in the document. But like I said, I would turn it into an actual full-blown document and just stick it up on the Dungeon Masters Guild. There's no rush for it, Fred, so don't freak out and feel like you have to get it done quickly. Everybody's got other things going on. Jean-Paul, how's it going? Dragonlance, one of my favourite Dungeons and Dragons campaigns and book series from my youth. Great story for a movie series today. Yeah, it certainly would be. I agree. And I mean, let's get real. Even the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon series has enough going for it, and is remembered fondly enough by enough people that it would still be able to generate a reasonable story arc. I think the problem with Dungeons and Dragons the cartoon, and why it ran out of steam, is that they retained the same villain. The same villain was Tiamat, the same villain was Venger, and what they needed to do is start stacking more and more villains onto ongoing villains that the group had to deal with over time. I feel like that would have been much more sensible to keep it fresh, because Venger was always the same. It was the same villain that kept showing up, and what you needed is something fresh and different. And as we all know in our own Dungeons and Dragons games, right, by adding in a new villain, it really changes a TV series or a movie, even a movie series. New villains, that's what it needed. New villains. That would be amazing. Yeah, so Age Gaming, you need to give me an idea of what sort of stuff from the Curse of Strahd you need help with. You never know, it might happen. Right now, my patrons have asked me for the Lost Mine of Phandelver, the Curse of Strahd, and the Rise of Tiamat. And short videos on the rules. So that's happening. And also Monster Tactics. So that'll keep happening too. So there's still quite a bit of work for me to do. So I'm working my way through that as best I can. John Cartwright, Avenger could go toe-to-toe with Tiamat for a while, but he would start to be overpowered if the fight went long. Yeah, which is usually what's happened, right? We use the cartoon as an example of what players should never have their PCs do. Fair enough. Okay, look, I need to get going because I've got another video to do. Now the topic for the next video after this, I'm going to be here at 1 p.m, hopefully on time. And I'm going to do what I said I would do ages ago. I am going to talk about skill challenges in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. But I'm going to do this backward. Instead of, what's that, age gaming? I mean, I finished it horribly considering my players abused the Death House by continuing to destroy it and gain experience from it because it could regenerate. Well, you don't have to give them experience points because they keep destroying the house. This has come up before, you know. Just because you destroyed the house once, you get experience points, and after that you don't get any more, you know. So you don't have to fall for that trap. If they're farming the house by just lighting it up and burning it down, then don't fall for that. So skill challenges for Dungeons and Dragons. Princes of the Apocalypse, I despise that story arc. It's not going to happen, really. Princes of the Apocalypse is not something I can cope with. Not really going to happen. So instead of showing you and explaining to you how to do a skill challenge in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, I'm doing this backward. I'm going to give you an actual skill challenge. I'm going to provide you with the nuts and bolts for an actual skill challenge that I have run in my own game. So that's back to front. Princes of the Apocalypse is an appalling storyline. It really is. So that is the plan. You're going to get an actual skill challenge for Dungeons & Dragons 5e that you can use in your game and will hopefully give you an idea of how to go about doing it in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And later on, I'll do another video talking about skill challenges and its fundamentals because I like using them. It works out well for me. Okay, I'm glad you understand age gaming, Fred. You do not get XP from the troll until it quits getting back up. Exactly. You do realise. Okay. Yep. John Cartwright. I really like what you did with the dolls and the Curse of Strahd. I'm glad you liked it. The idea was to give you as many options as possible that you could utilise and exploit. So that's what I'm planning to do, is try to give you lots of options to make things as interesting as possible. So have a good night, day, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I will be back at 1 p.m. today for another live stream on skill challenges. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.